Today, I'd like to look at a very important question. And it's a question that at some point, every single person on their journey of spiritual enlightenment, it's a question that everybody asks. When everyone has heard about a God, a divine purpose in life, a creator, when people start exploring what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose of life, there's a really significant question that gets asked by people. And that question is, if there is a God, then why do bad things happen in life? And it's very easy to hear ideas about oneness and divine perfection. And people ask this question, well, why are there bad things happening? And as soon as they ask that question, there's also another question, a follow-on question. What about very serious issues that we see in society? The most extreme causes of suffering. Child abuse, rape, murder, war, starvation, poverty, loss of loved ones, people dying too soon. How can God be perfect? How can all of this be perfect? And more importantly, how does someone who has been affected by these things get over them? How do we help people? Now, these are very important questions. But underneath these questions is another more important question. What is beneath this question? What is behind these questions? Is it just a philosophical question? Are these just questions that people would like to know the answers to just because they sound nice? The root of these questions comes from an emotion, from a feeling. And the feeling is, why does it hurt so bad? Why am I feeling pain? Why am I feeling this discomfort? There is a disturbance inside me. There is a feeling of unease inside me, and I want to know what the reason is for it. Now, we come to this sort of thinking because we look at our minds in the same way that we look at our bodies. And when our body is healthy, we know that all the stimulus for the body, all the environment around the body is in balance. And how do we know that? How do we know that our body feels good? We know that we feel able, we can move, we feel healthy, we don't feel weak. We know that there is balance. But as soon as there is a feeling of discomfort inside our body, if there is a feeling of a little bit of difficulty, something is struggling, something is not quite right, then straight away we want to know what the answer is. We want to know what the cause of this problem is. It can be a flu, it can be an infection, it can be some sort of pain, it can be that we're too hot, we're too cold, that we're hungry, that we've eaten bad food. So as soon as there's discomfort in the body, we want to know what the cause of that discomfort is. And we use the same logic to try and understand our mind. When our emotions feel difficult, then we want to know what is the cause of it. If there is something that we would call a negative emotion. And we can boil some of these feelings of discomfort we have down to some very basic things. And this is a very loose generalization. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling worried, all of those things are caused by some fear. When you know that you're stressed, if you're angry, or if you're worried, what the root cause of those things is fear. And when you're feeling sad, the root cause of that is that you feel something has been taken away from you, or your expectation has not been met in some way. We're going to talk a lot about expectations later on today. And most of the time we can't see our problems in such a simplistic way. When we feel sad, when we feel angry, when we feel anxiety, stress, what do we like to do? We like some other thing to blame. We like to have something to make responsible. We need someone to blame. And that could be anyone, family members, a colleague at work, friends, even strangers. Sometimes if we don't have a person to blame, then we can just blame circumstances like there's too much traffic or the weather is not good. And if we don't have even something else to blame, then we say it's our destiny, it's bad destiny. We're always trying to look for something to blame. When there's really big disasters in the world, then we don't know what to do. So then we start asking very fundamental questions. Maybe God is to blame. And as soon as you say it's God's fault, then you start thinking that doesn't sound right. That doesn't feel right. We start feeling uneasy with this idea. You know why? Because there's an assumption that we make, and the assumption is, surely God wouldn't do this to me. Surely God wouldn't do this to me. What have I done wrong? What have I done to deserve this? And all of this comes from an idea that we have about this God. And the idea is that surely God only does good things. And we get indoctrinated with this idea from a very young age, that God is good, does only good things, and represents goodness in the world. Getting a bit serious now, isn't it? So I'll make it a bit light. I'm going to sing you a song. Actually, I'll just tell you the words. You don't want to hear me singing the song. This is a song that I learnt in school, and I'm sure a lot of you know this song. It goes, all things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. You're all singing the tune in your head. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, He made their glowing colors, He made their tiny wings. From a very young age in school, I remember singing these songs in assembly. God does all the wonderful things. So God is responsible for all the good things. But is this the reality? Is this what we really see in the world? Is God only responsible for the good things, or is God responsible for everything? Gurbani talks about a different idea. Gurbani talks about hukam, that which is. The word hukam means command. It gives this idea of a royal king who is commanding over the whole universe. And the hukam is whatever the king says, that's what has to be done. But how do we understand hukam? How can we make it something that's relevant to our life? A good way to understand hukam is to simplify it. In English, we can say hukam means reality. That which is happening. Not what somebody has said, not what some God sitting in a throne is saying, but that which is happening. Reality. So when we start looking at hukam as reality, then that reality includes everything that we would call negative, everything that we would say is dark. So what we can say is that reality is like a spectrum. Creation, the universe, is a spectrum of all possibilities. What does that mean? Everything that can happen may happen. If we see the universe as a spectrum, do you know what I mean by a spectrum? A range of all possibilities. What do? is we are only looking at one section of the spectrum. We're only looking at the spectrum that says good things are happening. But reality means anything can happen and anything does happen. And in that spectrum of anything that can happen, some things we call good and some things we call bad. But let's think about what is good or bad. Good or bad means if it impacts me in a way that I like, I'm going to say it's a good thing. If it impacts me in a way that I don't like, I'm going to say it's a bad thing. But the reality is different. Reality is this is what's happening. You can call it good or you can call it bad. That's up to you. I like to use a very simple analogy to explain this idea. So imagine it's your wedding day. And for the last 2 months, it has been glorious sunshine every day. So what's your ardas going to be? On my wedding day, please don't let it rain. It's been sunny for the last 2 months. My important day, on this day it shouldn't rain. This is the big day. Yeah, you put your calendar up, you circle it, you said that's the day. So you're doing ardas every day. Don't let it rain on that day. But 1 mile up the road, there's a farmer and he's looking at the weather, he's looking at the clouds and he's saying it's sunny every day, why hasn't it rained? So what's his ardas going to be? Please let it rain. So on the day, it rains. The people getting married say this is terrible. This is the worst thing that can happen. Of all the days that it could have rained, why did it have to rain today? And on the other side, 1 mile down the road, the farmer is going to all his neighbors and handing out laddus because it started raining. Now you tell me, is the rain good or is the rain bad? It's neither, is it? It just is. It's just rain. What does the rain care about your opinion of the rain? What does the rain care if you think it's good rain or bad rain? The rain is going to rain when it's going to rain. This is how the whole of the universe is working. All day, every day, it's just doing what it needs to do. And we're sitting there saying, this is a great thing, today is a good day, and this is a bad day. So when we think and hear about concepts like the universe is perfect and hukam is perfect, what we like to think is that means my life is going really well. All the good things are happening in my life. But that's not what it means that the universe is perfect. The universe is perfect. It knows when it needs to rain and it's going to rain. It knows when it doesn't need to rain and it's not going to rain. That is the perfection of the universe. That's what it means that the universe is perfect. But we don't see the world in that way. So we see the whole universe based on me. How does it affect me? Let's see how this affects me. So our whole perception of the world is based on how does it impact me? We have no interest in hukam, only if hukam is doing nice things to me. The reality is there is no good hukam and there is no bad hukam. It is what it is, and that's what hukam means. Now the question is, are you able to understand and see the reality for what it is, rather than how you want it to be? Are you able to lose your expectations? On the day that it was going to be the wedding day, you had an expectation, I don't want it to rain. The farmer had an expectation, I want it to rain. Neither of them are willing to accept the reality as it is. Everybody is thinking about how is this going to impact me. So let's talk more about bigger issues. The traumas that we face in our life, the big question is now, how are we going to deal with these traumas in our life? And I'll tell you from my own personal experience, one of the most impactful things that has happened in my life is to try and understand why sadness happens. And I'd really like to share that with you today. When you can understand the cause of your own suffering, when you can understand the cause of your feeling sad, then you will have a much better understanding of where this is coming from. What does it mean? Why do I feel this way? So, there is a very simple way to understand suffering. And I like to use simple formulas like when you go to school and you learn A plus B equals C. So let me teach you a very simple formula if you'll allow me. Expectation minus reality equals dukh or sukh. Let me tell you what that means. Expectation minus reality equals dukh or sukh. Let me explain that. Let's say I arrange a meeting with you and I say, meet me in the town center at 12 o'clock. What is my expectation? You're going to meet me at 12 o'clock. So the day comes, I'm standing there waiting for you. Let's say you arrive at 12 o'clock. What's my response going to be? Happy. I told you to come at 12 o'clock. I set an expectation for myself. I set an expectation for you. You arrived, you met my expectation, I'm happy. Let's say you arrive at 12:30. What's my feelings going to be? I'm going to be a little bit disappointed, but chalo, it's not too bad. I set the expectation at 12, you've arrived at 12:30, not too bad. I'm a little bit annoyed at you, but not too bad. Let's say you turn up at 2 o'clock. What's my feelings going to be? Very annoyed. Why? The reality is you turn up when you're going to turn up. But my expectation determines how happy I'm going to be, how sad I'm going to be. Why? The further the reality goes from my expectation, the more my dukh or sukh is going to be. If you turned up 5 minutes early, you've gone the other way. You've exceeded my expectations. You've turned up even earlier. So I'm even happier. Wow, we agreed 12. You've come even earlier. What if you come at 10 o'clock? Then you go the other way. Then I'm going to be disappointed on that side. I'm not ready. I'm not there yet. Why are you turning up at 10 o'clock? So it's a very fine line. But what is the one thing that I'm holding on to? I'm holding on to 12 o'clock. We said 12 o'clock. That's my expectation. What I'm not doing is I'm not going with the flow. As reality is, I'm not saying you've turned up when you turn up, not a problem. Now, you can see how easy it is to get disappointed. How easy is it to get unnecessarily happy or unnecessarily sad? Is that even a reason to get happy or sad? And what do you do then? You blame the other person. I told you 12 o'clock, you came at 2 o'clock. You blame the other person. You don't even ask them why you're late. That's it, you're already annoyed. Before they turn up late, you're already annoyed because you're holding on to your expectation. Now let's say we arrange for you to come to my house and I say, come whatever time you want. You turn up at 10 o'clock, I'm neither happy nor sad. You come at 12 o'clock, neither happy nor sad. You come at 2 o'clock, I'm neither happy nor sad. What's the difference? I have no expectation. Reality is where happiness is. That's where contentment is. That's the hukam, reality. The more you move from my expectation of reality, the more dukh I'm going to feel. Your suffering isn't because the other person turned up late. Your suffering is because you're not willing to accept that they turned up late. You're still holding on to your 12 o'clock. We agreed 12 o'clock, you should have come at 12 o'clock, and you're holding on to that. The reality has moved past 12 o'clock now. You don't move along with it. You're holding on to an idea. Now, where is the expectation? Is that a reality? Is that something that you can actually hold on to? No. The expectation is just a thought. Your thoughts make you happy or sad. Did you know that? Your thoughts are making you happy and your thoughts are making you sad. There is no such thing as happy and sad. It's just a thought. It's just an idea in your head. Hukam is moving beyond that. So, happiness is not about what you get in life. Happiness is how you react to what you get in life. What do we think happiness is? We think happiness is the more I get, the happier I'm going to be. The more money I earn, the more big things I can buy, the more happier I'm going to be. So we think the more we receive, the more happy we're going to be. But that's not what happiness is. Happiness is not what you get, it's how you deal with what you get. It's not about how much you get, it's about how you deal with how much you get. That's what happiness is. And the question is, are you able to accept reality? That reality is neither good or neither bad. But let's talk about more serious things, because these are the kind of questions that people have in their mind. What about child abuse? What about real traumas that we have in our life? What about these real difficult things that we sometimes face in our lives?